Hi, my name is Kirsi Keskitalo and I'm a YFU student from Finland for program year 95-96. I was fortunate enough to find my second home in a small town near Flint in Michigan. But rather than tell you of my own experience, I am thrilled to share the story of an inspirational woman, Rachel Andresen, the founder of Youth for Understanding. Born in Michigan in 1908, it wasn't until nearly 40 years later that Rachel first traveled abroad, to Europe. On this honeymoon trip to her husband's home country of Denmark, she was devastated by what the World War II had left behind. Later in the same trip, Rachel attended World Council of Churches conference in Amsterdam, where the street lights had been turned off for 8 years, to hide the city and secure the people's safety during the war. One evening during the conference, Rachel was asked to participate in turning the switch that for the first time since 1940 turned on the city lights of Amsterdam. Rachel described that experience again and again. I looked out through the windows of the banquet room into the dark night, and suddenly the whole city was ablaze, people dancing and celebrating on the streets. I told myself then and there, I must do everything I can with my life, so that the lights shall never go out again. Rachel found her opportunity to get involved in 1951, motivated by a desire to help to heal the wounds of the World War II. The Exchange of Peoples program brought teenagers from war-torn regions in Austria and Germany to live in the United States. 26,000 teenagers applied, only 75 were accepted. Rachel was asked to find volunteer families and schools to host these students. She did that and much more, including hosting the first group of students for a 2-week orientation at her family home in South Lyon, Michigan. Also began YFU, and for Mrs. Andresen, a lifelong dedication to youth exchange. As this first group of students was preparing to travel home early on a warm summer morning, Rachel saw hundreds of Americans who had come to say farewell to their new family members, the very same people their country had fought against just a few years earlier. She realized it was impossible to hate someone or even a country that you actually know and understand on a family and community level. In Rachel's words, every one of these students is a new light that has been turned on. I must do everything I can to make sure that these lights continue to burn and that new lights are turned on. With Rachel serving as YFU's executive director for more than 20 years, tens of thousands of lights were turned on as the exchange program expanded quickly through Europe and the world. Shortly before passing away in 1988, Rachel talked about the world-famous pianist's first visit to his home country, Russia, after many decades of absence. While watching his televised concerts, she considered YFU's future, asking, "Do you think this means that sometime soon we may be exchanging with the Soviet Union?" As Eastern Europe became open to long-term youth exchanges, YFU was the first one on the spot, just like Rachel Andresen had been in the aftermath of the Second World War. In that way, our staff and volunteers live up to her memory time and time again around the world. Rachel knew that volunteer spirit gave YFU its greatest strength. Back in the 1950s, just a few years into Youth for Understanding, more than 55 years of existence, she observed, "Volunteers are God's gift to worthy organizations. We were worthy, I guess, because we've had so many of them. There would be no Youth for Understanding if it wasn't for the volunteers. What a job they do." And still today, YFU is not about the statistics. YFU is about each individual person whose life is touched by the experience of exchange. I am grateful to Rachel for being such a visionary. I am also grateful to my YFU area rep Joyce in Michigan. As I boarded my flight home at the Saginaw airport, Joyce told me, "Kirsi, I really think you should do something for YFU in Finland too." I did not know it 13 years ago, yet I know it now. My high school year with YFU changed my life. Now I am part of YFU, at the front line, making sure that the lights of the world never go out again for the years and years to come. I will end by quoting from a poem written by George Allen, a former chairman of YFU. This poem, honoring Rachel's work, was presented to her at her 80th birthday celebration. "There are some who lead, there are some who follow, but there are few who can grasp your hand and go with you. To a new land, a new family, a new language, and leave you with commitments for a lifetime of goodwill to others. Rachel Andresen has done this, and her efforts have been recognized, truly, while her hands are still strong to reach out to all youth with understanding.